Hey everybody, Eric here for the Unlockables podcast, and before we begin the episode, I just want to give a special shout out to all the people who support the show over on Patreon. These incredible people are Chris from 1 Hour 1 Decision, Stephen Pay, Dave Jackson, Chris Copleen, Rick Firestone, Colby Moyer, Keith Gasper, and Nikolai at Night. Words cannot describe what your continued support of this little podcast mean to me. Now let's get on with today's episode. What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Guiding Keys, the story of Kingdom Hearts presented by the Unlockables podcast. As always, my name is Eric. I am your host on this journey, and I'd like to thank you for tuning in wherever, whenever, in time and space you might be located. It means so much that you're back here listening to this incredible Kingdom Hearts journey that we have been on. We have been through the first two games, Kingdom Hearts 1 and Kingdom Hearts Chain of Memories, and we are now moving on to Kingdom Hearts 2. This is a big one. This is going to be bigger than both of the previous games put together in terms of reviewing and breaking down everything that happens, because the story for Kingdom Hearts 2 is very big and gets very, very complicated. So we're going to break this into probably multiple parts. I'd be willing to bet it's going to be more than 3 while we dive into and decipher everything that Nomura reveals to us about the universe of Kingdom Hearts in Kingdom Hearts 2. A lot of what is going to be said in this episode is going to be drawing on prior knowledge of things that were revealed in previous episodes. So if you haven't gone back and listened to the 4 prior episodes of Guiding Keys, 2 parts on Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2 parts on Chain of Memories, then you might want to do that as well, because we're going to be tying together a lot of lingering plot threads that were left running through the plots of those games, a lot of unanswered questions that are being carried forward into Kingdom Hearts 2. I very highly recommend that. I broke them into parts because I think I talked about Kingdom Hearts 1 and Chain of Memories each for roughly 3 to 3.5 hours, maybe even 4 by the time all the editing gets done with those episodes. So please definitely go check those out and maybe break up your listening sessions. Or if you're on a very long road trip and you can tolerate my voice, these might be the perfect episodes to listen to for a road trip if you're into that sort of thing. Before we start diving into all that good stuff, though, I would say let's just lay the foundation and start with a little bit of introductory information on Kingdom Hearts 2. Kingdom Hearts 2, developed by Square Enix Product Development Team 1 and published by Square Enix in collaboration with Buena Vista Games. Side note there, Buena Vista was the gaming development and publishing division of Disney Interactive, but was renamed/rebranded to Disney Interactive Studios in 2007, so shortly after Kingdom Hearts 2 came out, and it was released in December 22nd, 2005 in Japan, March 28th, 2006 in North America. We are quickly coming up on the 20th anniversary of Kingdom Hearts 2. It was also released as part of the Kingdom Hearts HD 2.5 remix for PlayStation 3, 4, Xbox, and Nintendo Switch. It's also on the All-in-One collection and the Story So Far collection, which I believe is for the PS4, Xbox Series, whatever the 8th generation of consoles is, I believe. That includes all of the Kingdom Hearts information you know to play Kingdom Hearts 3 and experience the end of the saga. Kingdom Hearts 2 is the direct numerical sequel to Kingdom Hearts, but is more of a direct sequel to Kingdom Hearts Chain of Memories if you're actually counting Chain of Memories as the direct sequel to Kingdom Hearts. And the concepts for Kingdom Hearts 2 began being planned near the end of the development of Kingdom Hearts Final Mix in 2003. Now, scores for this game, sitting at a 87 out of 100 for Metacritic. Game Informer gave it a 9 out of 10. IGN a 7.6 out of 10. Rare contrarians over at IGN there. Famitsu gave it a 39 out of 40. GameSpot an 8.7 out of 10. It won the Famitsu Game of the Year Award 2005, and in fact, it actually tied for that award with Resident Evil 4 from Capcom. So, interesting decision by Famitsu there. We'll have to see. Maybe I can find some article information as to why that was the case. I think that'd be interesting to look into. By March 31st, 2007, 4 million units of Kingdom Hearts 2 had been shipped, and it was the highest-selling console game of March 2006 when it debuted, managing roughly 700,000 copies. Now, I know what you're thinking. God of War Ragnarok did 4 million in its first week. Pokemon did 12 million in the first 3 days it was out. Splatoon 3 was selling assloads of copies for a very, very long time. But this was the mid-2000s, and for a Disney Final Fantasy RPG fusion like this, that was pretty good. I would say gaming is probably at least double or triple the size it was back in the mid-2000s. It was just starting to gain traction and gain the amount of money in it that is present today. So very, very good showing for Kingdom Hearts 2. Now, diving into this, as I have for the first 2 games, I want to start with initial thoughts, kind of personal feelings, introductions to the game. Just kind of some ramblings about the way I feel about Kingdom Hearts 2 in particular. Pretty much by now, if you're a fan of the show or if you've listened for any amount of time to any episodes, you've probably heard me say how Kingdom Hearts 2 is either my favorite game or second favorite game of all time, and how Kingdom Hearts is literally my favorite series of games of all time. Any given day, it could be 1 or 2. It just depends on how I feel about my other favorite game of all time, Final Fantasy IX, on that day. But Kingdom Hearts is by far my favorite game series, and Kingdom Hearts 2 is my favorite game in that series. So that puts it, any given day, that's at the top of my list. To say that I love this game a lot is an understatement. This game is, for all the years that I've played it, been a comfort to me. I played it growing up. I played it in high school and college, going through fantastic times, going through tough times. I played it when I started my career, trying to find my place in the world. I played it after a devastating breakup that I never thought I would recover from. And I'm playing it now after my life has changed so drastically. In fact, I probably haven't played this game in the last 3 or 4 years after playing it once a year or every other year, at least for the last 15 years of my life. I know it's definitely the first time I've played it since I met my wife and started dating her. So that would have been back in 2019. So yeah, it's been at least 4 years, and it's causing me a little bit of anxiety to be playing this game and to be critically analyzing it on a podcast. You know, as you get older and as I've interacted with the community, I certainly have a different way of looking at games and thinking about games than I did even last year as compared to 4 years ago. So there is a part of me that is really nervous to be playing this game right now, and I'll let you guys know that I am not done with this game as of this episode's recording. It's so big that I'm recording it in chunks as I play to kind of make my note-taking a little bit easier, and you'll see why as we start to talk about the topic for today's episode. But playing it now after so long and being in such a radically different place in my life, I'm just curious to see how I'll feel about it, and I hope that I still have the same feelings for it. So we'll have to see. If you can't tell, I'm a little bit choked up even thinking about it, because that's how much this game means to me. And don't ever let anyone tell you that games can't be important to you, that games can't be a medium that can heavily impact your life. The people that were there for me through the tough times that I just mentioned are some of my best friends to this day, and after them, I had Kingdom Hearts to be a comfort, to be a place that I could go to forget about life and just feel better about everything for just a little while, for just a few hours as I played it. During the development of Kingdom Hearts 2, which we will talk about in greater detail in just a little bit, Nomura and his team really focused on fan feedback from Kingdom Hearts 1, and they spent a lot of time during the development of this game fixing those issues, for example, such as how sluggish combat and movement felt from Kingdom Hearts 1. They overhauled the magic system. They completely redid the gummy ship sections, which was a drastic need if they were going to keep those sections in the game. And as we talk about that, you'll see that the gummy ship sections from 1 to 2 are a completely drastic upgrade. It's absolutely incredible. Another interesting thing about the development of this game, which we'll go into as well, is, and I don't know how common this is, but for Kingdom Hearts 2, it was made by the same team that had done Kingdom Hearts 1. So most of the team had stayed on for Kingdom Hearts 2 that had worked on Kingdom Hearts 1. I think this is great. I feel the consistency of the teams really shows through in this game. And while it is not a perfect game, like no game is a perfect game, I think that the team was able to achieve their ultimate goal of what Kingdom Hearts should be in this sequel. And I think that's due to the consistency of the team and the leadership of Nomura, having worked together since, the early 2000s, developing this new game and knowing the things they wanted to do. And there were certain things in the first game that they wanted to implement and they wanted to do better, but they just kind of ran out of time to do it. And in addition to focusing on concerns of the fans, they also fixed and did a lot of things that they wanted to do in the first game. And you can really see it. Everything in this game is notched up to 11. It's just faster. It's a better packaged game. And like I said, the team truly realized what Kingdom Hearts was meant to be. And I've said it before, I know that I hold this opinion. I know that there are many in the fandom that hold this opinion, that Kingdom Hearts 2 is the definitive Kingdom Hearts experience. I don't think that they ever quite reach the heights of Kingdom Hearts 2, at least for me, in any of the following games. And all of the following games were trying to be their own thing, right? It's just you don't want to copy and paste Kingdom Hearts 2 too many times and degrade the value of what it is. And I think that's one of the strengths, too, that playing all the Kingdom Hearts games sequentially like this, you can see where they kind of build off of each other and take ideas from each other in different directions. Not all the games are exactly the same. Certain ideas are improved upon, certain ideas are abandoned, certain ideas are mixed with other aspects of gameplay and turned into something completely new. Some ideas that were abandoned come back a couple games later. So the series and the franchise is always iterating on itself, but for me personally, I think Kingdom Hearts 2 is the definitive iteration. It introduced so many series staples. It set the pace, the speed, the tone, the standard for the rest of the series going forward. And it's still at a point where the story is relatively palatable. It's reached the narrative complexity of a Final Fantasy game, which, if you remember from Guiding Keys of Kingdom Hearts 1 and the development history of that game, when Nomura was speaking with Hironobu Sakaguchi about this game, Sakaguchi insisted that Kingdom Hearts had to aim for the narrative complexity of a Final Fantasy game. And I certainly think they have achieved that. It reached peak narrative complexity that was palatable in Kingdom Hearts 2. Then afterwards, it kind of goes off the rails a little bit. That being said, this game is not without, I don't want to call it controversy, and I don't want to call it division in the fandom, because Kingdom Hearts fans are relatively united around truths and aspects about the lore and things that happen in the games. There's not too much arguing and hating on one another for interpretations of the lore. At least from my experience, the Kingdom Hearts fans are very passionate, but we're not mean to each other. And I'm assuming there's always bad bugs in any fandom, but for the most part, I've had for the last 15 years, had a mostly positive experience with the Kingdom Hearts fandom. So it's not without, I'll say controversy for lack of a better word. I'll say slight division. The beginning few hours of this game is infamous, I think, among not only the fans, but also people outside of Kingdom Hearts that are in the proximity of video games. They'll claim that Kingdom Hearts 2 has a notoriously long tutorial period. And if you remember from Kingdom Hearts 1, the tutorial section was basically the time you were spending on Destiny Island before the islands get destroyed and Sora gets swept off to Traverse Town. This tutorial section, and we're going to be talking about this section specifically for the remainder of this part of Guiding Keys, puts you in charge of a character named Roxas. So not only are you not playing as Sora, you're spending 2 to 3 hours, depending how long it takes you to get through this. You can get through it relatively quick if you're skipping cutscenes and you've played before and you know what to do. But if you don't know what to do and you're playing it for the first time, this part can be pretty rough to play through. You spend time going through 6 days as Roxas as the events of Kingdom Hearts 2 start to unfold and the ramifications for what happened at the end of Chain of Memories start to come into view. And a lot of this, at the conclusion of this arc where you're playing as Roxas, almost seems pointless if you don't understand the underlying lore and the true reason of what Nomura was trying to do with this section of the game in terms of the lore he was building for the world. And I know that's not a selling point for this game, right? If I'm trying to recommend this game to anybody, nobody's gonna buy me telling them, oh, you have to appreciate Kingdom Hearts to appreciate the start of Kingdom Hearts 2. It's not a selling point. Anybody just jumping into the lore for the first time or jumping into the game for the first time, you're probably not going to have fun with this. And a lot of people, I would assume, didn't get past this part because they were either looking for Sora or it was just too boring. Me personally, I experienced this first part of Kingdom Hearts 2 without playing Chain of Memories. So coming from that, I was even more confused about what was going on. I had absolutely no idea who this blonde-haired kid was, why we were here, why we were in this town, what we were doing, who these black hooded guys were, who all these white creatures running around were. I had absolutely no idea. And it was hard to get through, but the story beats pulled me through because I was just genuinely curious about the story and when I would get back to playing as Sora. Like I said, this section of the game is going to be what we're going to be covering in this first part. And as I describe the story to you and connect the threads and the plot points, I will make the argument that this part of the game is absolutely brilliant as I try to decipher what exactly Tetsuya Nomura was attempting to do with this section of the game. Because when you wrap it up, you're going to feel like, well, a lot of this was pointless, and a lot of the time spent with Roxas was pointless, and a lot of the time he spent doing things was kind of pointless. And let me tell you what, that pointlessness is kind of the point. And we'll dive into that as we continue to discuss the story of Kingdom Hearts 2. But before we do that, as always, after I get done with my starting monologue, my starting ramblings about my initial thoughts on the game, we're going to dive headfirst into the development history of Kingdom Hearts 2, picking up on the heels of Chain of Memories. Listeners of the previous Guiding Keys episode know that Kingdom Hearts 2 entered development at the same time as Chain of Memories, with the two games being worked on alongside one another. Kingdom Hearts 2 was revealed at the Tokyo Game Show in 2003, but initial work had already begun after the completion of Kingdom Hearts Final Mix. With most of the development team returning from Kingdom Hearts 1, work on the series would continue uninterrupted. But before development could truly begin, there were several questions and challenges that Nomura and his team had to grapple with before work could begin in earnest. One of these issues would be solved during the development of Chain of Memories. Nomura knew pretty early on that he wanted Kingdom Hearts 2 to take place 1 year after the events of the first game. Unlike Final Fantasy, Kingdom Hearts was going to tell a continuous story, which meant that Nomura was going to have the Metroid problem. How could he give the player new options to level up Sora when he had reached a powerful state in his previous adventure? Well, the events of Chain of Memories took care of that issue, leaving Sora in stasis while his memories were repaired. When he awoke, he would be in a weakened state, giving the players a fresh slate to power up Sora once again. Another of these challenges would prove to be even more difficult. Going forward, Nomura knew that he wanted Mickey Mouse to have a much more expanded role. While he did have some leeway to make decisions based on Disney properties, this one would require extensive approval from Disney, seeing as Mickey Mouse is the de facto face of the House of Mouse. In an interview about the development of Kingdom Hearts 2, Nomura stated, "In the previous game, I inserted a secret movie in hopes of creating a sequel. But to actually pull it off, Kingdom Hearts 2 had a number of hurdles that I had to clear first. Like our wish to give Mickey more spotlight. We had to wait until Disney allowed that, and once it settled, then we could finally talk about Kingdom Hearts 2's development." So no work actually began on the sequel until Disney was on board with an extended role for Mickey. And once a deal was hammered out, the rest of the game started to come together. The team also wanted to rework certain aspects of the game to answer fan feedback that they had been gathering since Kingdom Hearts 1. And this feedback would play a crucial role in shaping the systems and overall feel of the game. And due to team cohesion, other elements that they weren't able to implement in the first game due to time constraints were also taken into consideration along with the feedback. For example, the camera controls were moved from the shoulder buttons to the right analog stick of the DualShock controller. Gummy ship and travel stages were completely revamped after complaints about how slow and monotonous they were from the first game, resulting in fast-paced shmup-style sections. Because Sora had now technically aged a year, Nomura wanted his fighting style to be different from the first game. This resulted in no animations being reused from Kingdom Hearts 1. Nomura states in an interview, "From the original, Sora has managed to learn how to kill enemies using a Keyblade, and has traveled to so many worlds. If I were to compare his overall movement and attitude towards defeating enemies to the original Kingdom Hearts, he's matured a little bit. With that in mind, the movements have been developed into a form that's a little cooler and not like a little kid learning how to use a toy." Maybe that's an expression I can use. Sora has leveled up in terms of how he uses his weapon, and the experience that he has after traveling to so many worlds is shown in his movements in Kingdom Hearts 2. There were additional challenges made to combat, such as adding the drive form and gauge to give players more tools with which to approach fighting enemies, and overhauling the magic system. Gone was the segmented MP bar, replaced with a continually replenishing font of MP to allow players more magic options in combat, solidifying the Kingdom Hearts series as a truly distinct action RPG separate from its slower Final Fantasy cousin. Yoko Shimomura would return to compose and arrange the music for Kingdom Hearts 2. Hikaru Utada would once again lend one of her songs for the opening cinematic sequence, since Simple and Clean had become such an iconic hit. The main theme for the Japanese release was Passion, with Sanctuary being the English translated version of the song. According to Nomura, the themes and lyrics for Passion and Sanctuary have an even closer meaning to the story than Simple and Clean. Sticking with audio, many of the voice casts from Kingdom Hearts 1 returned to voice their characters in Kingdom Hearts 2, including Haley Joel Osment as Sora, David Gallagher as Riku, and Hayden Panettiere as Kairi. Jesse McCartney would lend his voice to the character Roxas, and incredibly, the legendary Christopher Lee would voice the enigmatic Diz. A big focus of Square was also trying to use the original voice actors from Disney films in the game, and many either signed on or returned from Kingdom Hearts 1. Ming-Na Wen reprised her role as Mulan, James Woods as Hades, Chris Sarandon as Jack Skellington, and of course, Bill Farmer as Goofy, a role he has filled for many decades. Kingdom Hearts 2 would release on December 22nd, 2005 in Japan, March 28th, 2006 in North America, September 28th, 2006 in Australia, and September 29th, the following day, in Europe. The game was another major success for Square Enix, selling an estimated 1 million units in North America after 1 month, and surpassing 3.5 million units worldwide by the end of 2006. By March 31st, 2007, Square had shipped over 4 million copies of the game worldwide. Kingdom Hearts 2 also had great critical reception, with many publications noting the bevy of improvements made from the first game, although there was criticism for the game's slow start and button-mashing nature of the new combat controls, as well as absolutely abysmal AI for party members. But Famitsu would actually name the game their Game of the Year alongside Resident Evil 4 in 2005, and it was named the 16th greatest console game of all time in a Japanese poll conducted by TV Asahi, polling over 50,000 people. To many in the community, Kingdom Hearts 2 is considered the peak of the series, a crescendo that the series would never rise to meet again. Before we dive into dissecting Roxas' story and the introduction of Kingdom Hearts 2, we're going to talk about, like we have the last 2 parts, we're going to talk about the gameplay and improvements from user feedback, as we've talked about the gameplay in the last 2 games. It was mentioned just now during the development history that there's a lot of fan feedback that was taken into consideration, and there were some major changes that made Kingdom Hearts 2 feel like a better game, while the team managed to keep the spirit and the feel of Kingdom Hearts intact, which is no small feat considering how much faster and aggressive Kingdom Hearts 2 is to its previous entries. The first big thing was, yes, you heard that right in the history, the cameras used to be mapped to the L1 and R1 buttons on the DualShock controller. For Kingdom Hearts 2, the decision was made to switch the camera to one of the analog sticks, and this was absolutely huge. Believe it or not, even back then, camera movement with the analog stick wasn't universal yet, and it wouldn't be until your high-level, fast-paced shooters, I think, would popularize that style of camera movement that has pretty much become synonymous with the way you play video games. Yes, in fact, these shoulder buttons were at one time used to move the cameras in video games, and it's as awful as it sounds. We managed to make do with it back then because we didn't know any better, but now that we have analog camera control, it is much, much improved. Just imagine having to control the camera with C buttons for Mario 64. It's as bad as it sounds. It was also mentioned how they changed Sora's fighting style, and this really came from a narrative direction from Tetsuya Nomura. As I said in the history and as I read part of his interview, Sora has grown up now. He achieved the peak of his powers in Kingdom Hearts 1, or at least what was considered the peak of his powers. He's aged a year. He's been on some adventures. He's got some miles on his spirit. And through those adventures, he's learned how to wield the Keyblade better. And despite the fact that when you finally take over as Sora in Kingdom Hearts 2, you're back at level 1, you're back at square one, essentially, with his abilities and the things that he can do. His fighting style is a little more refined. It's a little more finesse. It's not the meat and potatoes kind of a boy who used to play with sticks on the beach of an island as a sword style of fighting. It's the style of fighting of someone who has, I wouldn't say mastered, but is comfortable with the tools they have at their disposal. And because of this narrative need, that gave them the excuse to pretty much throw out all of the old animations from the first game and redo them and refine them as they did. And because of this, Sora's attacks are faster, are lighter, they are less weighty. It allows for flashier combat scenarios. It allows for more insane boss encounters. And if you put any gameplay footage of Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2 side by side, the leaps and the progress that was made because of that decision are astounding. I mentioned too that the MP system was overhauled. So gone is the segmented MP bar that refills with attacks and MP bubbles from defeated enemies. Those are gone. They're absolutely gone. The MP bar now depletes over time, and it's just a bar that runs along his health. It's not a circle that goes around anymore. The MP bar depletes over time, and when it reaches the end, it slowly refills and recharges until it is full again. Now you can use items like ethers or elixirs to instantly refill your MP bar, but Nomura and his team decided that it would serve the action gameplay better to have this continual font of magic that you could dip into when you would need it and have to manage, because there are certain times in combat, if you utilize all of your MP and waiting for it to recharge, you do feel that. This made magic more viable, and because of the way the MP system was, you'd be able to more easily incorporate magic into your existing physical attack combos. So it gave you a lot more ways to approach combat than Kingdom Hearts 1 did, although one of the criticisms of Kingdom Hearts 2 is that in its regular standard mode, I would say it's the normal mode, it is pretty easy. And I think that has to do with just how more aggressive they made the game and not tuning it. But if you want a challenge in the way that Kingdom Hearts is supposed to be played, Proud or Critical mode absolutely provides enough of a challenge. I'm not concerned about that at all. And another thing that was added as well this time is the drive gauge and the drive forms were introduced. This is spoilers for a little bit further in the story, but once you take over as Sora, he's aged a year. His clothes don't quite fit him as well anymore. He's hit kind of a growth spurt. His voice is deeper. He's basically going through puberty, as weird as that is to talk about for video game characters, for anime characters. And he eventually gets a new outfit, which is one of his more, I would say, iconic designs. And the drive forms and the drive gauge are attached to this outfit. He can utilize drive forms that give him enhanced abilities based on what form he chose. And he actually has 4 that he's able to choose from, and a 5th one that's kind of forced on him if he uses them too many times. We'll get into them. So the first of those is Valor form, and this changes Sora's outfit to a red color palette. And the most notable thing about this is that he wields not 1, but 2 Keyblades, and this form is focused on melee combos and physical attacks. The catch is that when you use this form, Goofy is removed from your party because it's like you're using the power of friendship to access a more powerful combat form. So Valor form gives you 2 Keyblades and a bevy of combos and attacks that dip into Sora's changed fighting style when he has 2 weapons instead of 1. Then there is Wisdom form, and this has a blue color palette. This is focused on magic. You dip into this, obviously utilizing Donald Duck. He is removed from your party when you activate Wisdom form. Sora kind of floats along the battlefield as if he's on invisible skates. He has his attack command is replaced with a shoot command where he's just shooting magic blasts out of his Keyblade that's not absorbing MP. The gimmick of this one is that your magic is much, much more powerful in Wisdom form, and you're able to chain together more magic combos and I think use less MP, and your MP refills quicker. Then there is Master form, which has a yellow color palette as a fusion of Valor and Wisdom. It excels at aerial combat, avoidance, and magic, and it excels at area of effect attacks as kind of a crowd control type of form. It also wields 2 Keyblades, and your magic combos, if you're casting, become endless until your MP runs out. So most combos have like a 3 to 4 hit, especially if you're doing physical attacks, before the combo finishes up, and then you have to start a new combo. It's the same thing with magic. You can do a couple of casts before a magic combo will finish out, and then you have to restart. You can just endlessly cast magic in Master form and weave them into physical combos to the point where you can do a couple of magic casts and then dip into a physical combo that would have taken place if you had just started with all physical combos. So it gives you a lot of options to approach combat and really interrupt your physical flow of attacks with magic if need be, and that becomes very, very useful. And finally, there is Final form, which is a white color palette, and this represents Sora's completeness, and we'll touch on that. There's actually an in-game, in-story reason for why that is. It gives you the best of all forms. It gives you the strength of Valor form, the magic of Wisdom form, and the AoE control of Master form. Sora is literally floating through the battlefield, as do his Keyblades beside him. He's not even touching his Keyblades. when you're attacking in final form, his keyblades are just flying all around him. He's moving his hands, not touching his keyblades, and his keyblades are just going everywhere. And this form just looks so flashy and so freaking cool. So cool. When you get this form later in the game, it's pretty much the only form that you'll be using, although it does consume the most number of drive gauges, which you have to have the adequate number of drive gauges to be able to access these forms. The thing I didn't mention about Master Form 2, and it's the same thing about Final Form, when you access this form, both Donald and Goofy are removed from your party, or both of your party members. I don't remember which form it is, but one form allows you to not have Donald and Goofy in it, I think is how that works, but it takes both party members away from you because it's so powerful, essentially. Following this, there's a fifth and involuntary form, which is called Anti-Form. This is accessed when... So basically, Anti-Form procs when you try to access Valor, Wisdom, or Master Form. Sora becomes a complete dark version of himself with glowing yellow eyes. And this form is used to represent the darkness that still lingers within Sora's heart, even in Sora's heart, proving that there is darkness in all hearts, right? Using the other drive forms gives you hidden anti-points and increases the chance of anti-form activating. The more points you accumulate, it gives you a percentage chance of that anytime you use a drive form. When you have access to Final Form and use Final Form, that subtracts 10 points from the point counter. So basically, once you have Final Form, you're never going to be accessing Anti-Form ever again. And while Anti-Form can be useful and is very fast and aggressive, I think it handicaps how much damage you can actually do with physical attacks and handicaps your ability to use magic. So, while it's a cool form and a cool idea, it definitely hurts you if you use it if you're in a tight spot trying to use a drive form. An additional thing that was added to combat were these triangle button prompts called reaction commands. These were enemy-specific command prompts that were introduced to reward the player for quick reflexes and for paying attention. Reaction commands could change the flow of a battle pretty quickly, so a lot of these buttons would either be like counters to powerful enemy attacks or would start a quick time event that allowed you to enter a flashy sequence in which you could do a significant amount of damage to the boss, and this just kind of was a way for them to make the combat a little more flashy. I think it was a pretty cool implementation. Some version of this gets carried forward into the later games, although I don't think it was ever quite as heavily utilized as it was in Kingdom Hearts 2. And the last main thing that was noted was the overhaul to the gummy ship sections. And if you remember my Kingdom Hearts 1 episode, those are pretty those are pretty bad in Kingdom Hearts 1. They were hugely overhauled. They were reorganized into these unique levels that all had their own identity, whereas flying through the space in Kingdom Hearts 1 was just kind of this kaleidoscope of colors and shapes that all blended together and had no specific individual identity. But the gummy ship sections in Kingdom Hearts 2 are great. They're basically these Japanese-style shmups games. They were designed to mimic... The vibe they were going to emulate was a ride at a Disney theme park, and I think that they definitely nailed that vibe because some of these are fantastical and crazy. It is a vast improvement. It's probably one of the biggest improvements from KH1 to KH2 that you'll possibly see. These are made so much better, and they had to be made better because these sections were absolutely terrible. So I think you can see through my explanation of the gameplay that Kingdom Hearts 2 is a better, just more fun game to play because of all of these improvements. But before you can do that, you have to get through what is essentially the tutorial section. But because it is a tutorial section, that doesn't mean that it is any less important. In fact, the things that happen here will have an effect on not only the rest of the game, but the rest of the series going forward. And you're like, well, why would they put that in a tutorial? And as we start to examine why this first part was made the way it was with Roxas, we'll start to break down the themes and the story beats and what this all means. And I hope that you will come to appreciate this part of the story if you ever decide to pick up Kingdom Hearts for the first time. Because I know that you'll have a hard time getting through this section. But I think it's absolutely brilliant what Nomura and the team did with this first section regarding Roxas. So, without further ado, let's dive in to this first section of story for Kingdom Hearts 2. And let's talk about Roxas and the 6 days of summer.
A scattered dream that's like a far-off memory. A far-off memory that's like a scattered dream. I want to line the pieces up. Yours and mine.
You have arrived. I've been to see him. He looks a lot like you. I'm what's left. Or maybe I'm all there ever was. My name is of no importance. What about you? Do you remember your true name?
Sora?
Whoa! Give me a break, guy.
Giving up already? If there are any other worlds out there, why did we end up on this one?
This world has been connected,
What? Who's there?
tied to the darkness.
Sora, don't ever change.
The door has opened.
What?
You understand nothing.
Sora...
Another dream about him.
So as with any Kingdom Hearts game, I mean, except for Chain of Memories, there wasn't really a banger intro for that, but we get a banger of an intro movie that kind of replays the events of Kingdom Hearts 1 and Chain of Memories for us with a great new song, Passion being the Japanese version of the song, Sanctuary being the English version of the song. And I still have a soft spot in my heart for Simple and Clean, but this intro movie goes ridiculously hard. It's so good. But the way that this portion of the story, and at the end of the intro movie, you see there's a scene of Sora, Riku, and Kairi laying on the beach together, holding hands, and then we get a scene where that transitions to us falling through the ocean, and it's not Sora that's slowly descending towards the familiar stained glass platform, but it is a blonde-haired individual, a blonde boy that we saw at the end of Chain of Memories, at the end of Riku's story. And this will become apparent very soon as he lands and the stained glass begins to light up beneath his feet. Now, the way this story is told is in a series of 6 days, so we are beginning on the first day. But before we get to the first day, we begin on a scene of a dark beach looking out over a dark ocean, and a cloaked individual steps out of a portal that appears to appear in the side of a rock on the beach, and he approaches another cloaked individual who is already sitting there, sitting on a rock, looking out towards a faint light in the distance. It would almost be like if you're seeing a full moon through the fog. And the one sitting on the rock who is waiting there tells the second, as the second approaches, "I've been to see him. He looks a lot like you." After this, we transition to flashbacks of Sora laying on the beach of Destiny Islands from Kingdom Hearts 1 before it was destroyed. And we have all of these scenes of all of these memories of Sora's adventures from Kingdom Hearts 1, and they're a little bit fuzzy. They're almost like a TV that has a weak signal. They're static. It keeps kind of transitioning in and out as if like stuck between two channels. Anybody that had an old tube TV with antenna on top of it will know what this is like and to have the static. Remember when you had to turn the TV to channel 3 to play video games and it had to be the static? That is the scenario that we're working with here. At the end of this, we transition out of the flashbacks of Sora and into a room, a teenage boy's room, and we see the blonde-haired boy from the end of Chain of Memories sit up in his bed, saying another dream about him, almost as if the memories of Sora were his dreams. Very unusual. He opens his window to look over the familiar scene of Twilight Town, a town that we recognize from Chain of Memories. We've been here before. It was the town that Vexen said was on the other side of Sora's heart, in the memories on the other side of Sora's heart. And as this blonde boy looks over the town and we get the title shot of Twilight Town with the bells ringing with its eternal sunset, this individual is known as Roxas. The scene transitions to later in the day. Roxas has gone and met his friends at their usual spot. Under the train tracks, they have this kind of hideout that they hang out in. As friends do, they meet up at a usual spot when they play outside and stuff like that. Roxas's friends are Hainer, Pence, and Olette. And the gang is discussing a situation where Cypher's gang has framed them for some kind of thieving activity. If that name sounds familiar to you, we'll get to it in just a moment. And Hainer, being the hot-headed friend of the group, goes on this epic rant about how pissed off about this whole situation, about whatever has happened here, they've been framed for stealing. But Roxas seems very, very distracted. He's not really paying attention. He's kind of staring off into the distance, almost as if he's reminiscing on these dreams that he had. But ultimately, the gang decides to go and try and clear their names because they don't want to be accused of being thieves. As they do this, Pence runs over to grab his camera. He's been using his camera to document their adventures during this summer break. And as he picks up his camera, he exclaims that his blanks are gone. Well, not just his blanks, but the word blank, too. And this is how this is presented in the dialogue, in the cutscene, and in the captions. He exclaims that his blanks are gone and no sound comes out, no words come out, even though his mouth moves, and there's a blank spot in the captions. And anybody with a brain can put two and two together. He obviously picks up his camera and he exclaims that his pictures are gone, his photos are gone. And the whole group is kind of stunned here because whoever this thief is not only seems to have stolen the pictures, but the ability to say the word pictures as well. So we're trying to figure out what kind of thief this could possibly be. And as Roxas and his friends run off to investigate, all of the gang exit the usual place. And before Roxas can follow, he kind of has an episode where he just passes out and falls over, right? It is here we hear a familiar voice in the darkness saying,
"His heart is returning. Doubtless he'll awaken very soon."
And this, my good friends, is the familiar voice of none other than motherfucking Sir Christopher Lee, who they somehow got to voice act in this batshit crazy game. After this happens, Roxas awakens and Olette tells him, come on. Nobody notices that he just passed out and fell over on the floor. And they head over to the spot in Twilight Town known as Tram Commons. They begin to talk to all of the shopkeepers there to clear their names. What this is just a movement tutorial. It's explaining to you how to play the game, how to move, how to work the cameras and stuff like that. As they talk to all these different shopkeepers, they come to discover that it's not only Pence's pictures that have been stolen, plus the word, everyone else's pictures are gone too. So the thief is going around stealing people's pictures for whatever reason. So the gang continues to wander the town. They decide to go down to the Sandlot, and that is where we meet Cypher's gang. And if you are smart to know that this is a Final Fantasy crossover, this is, of course, Cypher from Final Fantasy VIII with his compatriots from Final Fantasy VIII, Raijin and Fujin. And Vivi is also there for some reason from Final Fantasy IX. So this four comprises the rival gang of Cypher. And really, Cypher and his gang serve their same function from Final Fantasy VIII. They are on the Twilight Town Disciplinary Committee. If I believe my Final Fantasy VIII history correctly, they were part of the Balam Garden Disciplinary Committee, so they kind of serve the same role here. Cypher basically accuses Roxas of being the thief and their gang of being the thieves and stealing all of the pictures and the word picture. And Cypher says that he's willing to let it slide, willing to let it go, that he'll forgive them and forget it happened if they get on their knees and beg for it, which Roxas does for a moment, much to Hayner's dismay, but he makes a break for a series of LARP-style looking weapons. You know, your foam bats, your things, your PVC pipes that are wrapped in pool noodles that the LARPers use to fight each other with. This is very much what these weapons look like. And there's one that looks like a giant bat, one that looks like a sword with a hilt on it, and one that looks like a staff with a star on the end of it. And Roxas basically rushes Cypher, and this is going to serve as the game's combat tutorial. Not much to touch on here. Roxas defeats Cypher, and Pence goes to snap a picture for the occasion, which he does with his camera, which is an old-timey camera that spits out the picture and develops it right there on the spot. But before he can grab the picture, some strange creature flies through the air and snatches the picture right from Pence's camera. It is a otherworldly creature that has a short torso but really long legs and really long arms, and appears to be in an all-white jumpsuit. So immediately the gang is like, yes, this has to be the thief. We just saw this happen right in front of us. Roxas gives chase and ends up getting out ahead of his friends. Roxas chases the creature out of town into the woods and corners it in front of an old abandoned mansion. Seeing that Roxas is out in front of all of his friends, the creature actually turns to face him, uttering a statement in his head that is conveyed by a black screen with just captions in quotes, "We have come for you, my liege," throwing Roxas completely off guard. Roxas goes to engage the thief to try and apprehend him and bring him in, which is not advisable. He finds that his LARP-style bat is ineffective against this creature because, of course it is. This is the whole Sora's wooden sword isn't effective against Heartless on Destiny Islands intro from Kingdom Hearts 1. It's essentially the same. The creature corners him, and at the last moment, his bat undergoes a radical transformation, digitizing and in a flash of light revealing to be the one and only Keyblade in Roxas's hands. So Roxas, confused, wields this Keyblade and finds it to be effective against this creature and is able to defeat the creature, which explodes in a flash of light once Roxas hits it enough. And this is essentially another part of the combat tutorial. After Roxas defeats this white creature in the jumpsuit, the Keyblade vanishes. His friends catch up with him, but Roxas doesn't mention anything to them about the Keyblade because there's been some weird stuff happening to him. He's hesitant to mention to his friends that these weird things are happening. But when the white creature exploded, it left all of these pictures all over the ground, which just so happen to be the pictures that everyone is missing. As the gang recovers them, they come to discover that they have found all the pictures that were missing, and they're able to say the word picture, say the word photo again. But they notice something unusual, at least Pence notices something unusual, that all of the stolen pictures happen to have Roxas in them. So that explained why everyone thought their gang were the thieves, because the pictures were of Roxas. And then Pence laughs and says, wouldn't it be really weird if the thief wanted to steal the real Roxas? Holy shit. Oh. Listen. There's a lot in that sentence. We're not going to touch it right now. Let's just continue on. So the gang leaves and Roxas follows shortly after. This all occurred back at the usual spot, by the way. They had gone back to town to investigate the pictures. As the gang decides to leave and go home for the day, they step out of the usual place when we get a blinding flash of the setting sun. The screen goes black, and we hear a voice inside of Roxas' head, we would have to assume, ask, "Where am I?" It's not Roxas's voice, though. It sounds like it might be Sora's. And Roxas responds with, "Who's there?" After Roxas posits this question, we get a transition to more TV static as a robotic voice informs us,
"Restoration at 12%.
We cut to a man wrapped in red, sitting in front of a computer station that has like 14 monitors, as he laments to himself that the organization miscreants have found them. And it is in the voice of Sir Christopher Lee. And we know this red-wrapped individual from Chain of Memories. This individual is Diz, the mysterious, fully head to toe, wrapped almost like a mummy in red individual that appeared at the end of Chain of Memories, mostly in Riku's side of the story. Behind Diz stands a man in a black organization coat, one of the de facto fashion statements in the Kingdom Hearts universe as of right now. And we know that members of the organization wear these black cloaks, but Diz just lamented that the organization seems to have found them. But Diz and this strange man seem to have knowledge of the events going on, because the man asks why nobodies would be stealing photographs.
But why would the nobodies steal photographs?
Both are nothing but data to them. The fools could never tell the difference. We are running out of time. Namine must make haste.
And while he says this, one of the cameras pans to one of his monitors that shows a familiar spiky-haired outline of Sora. We transition to, similar to how the first day started, we get more of Sora's memories with TV static interference, him waking up in Traverse Town, him meeting Leon and Leon explaining to him what the Keyblade is, Sora meeting Donald and Goofy, Sora closing keyholes in the different worlds. But something interesting happens during these memories, because a couple of them touch on Kairi, but just before the memory would say Kairi, it would almost say the first syllable and just cut off completely, as if the memory can't be completed yet. I know you're probably very confused as to the way this started, but this is essentially the series of events that's going to follow each day of Roxas's journey here. He's going to have a series of days. They're going to kind of start and end the same way, with him having these dreams of the adventures that Sora had in Kingdom Hearts 1. So we arrive at the second day, and Roxas jolts awake in his room once again, just as he did the first day. He looks around.
A key blade?
Looks at his open hand and pauses to himself, asking about a key blade, the one he saw in his dreams, the memories he keeps having, and the one that he was able to somehow call to himself in his time of need. But rather than dwell on it too much, he decides to get ready and go to the usual spot where he will find his friends ready for another one of the remaining few days of their summer vacation. But before he enters the usual place, he can't shake the idea of the Keyblade from his mind. So he sees a stick in the corner and he picks it up, starts swinging it to see if he can possibly summon the Keyblade. Of course, this fails, and when it fails to work, he just tosses the stick behind him, where it happens to hit a tall man in a black coat. Roxas apologizes, but the man walks away just silently. Roxas enters their usual spot and immediately gets handed a signature Twilight Town Kingdom Hearts delicacy, a sky blue sea salt ice cream bar. You will see the characters in Kingdom Hearts eating these things all of the damn time. It's anytime they're in Twilight Town, there has to be sea salt ice cream bars involved, which I learned a fun fact that sea salt ice cream bars are based on an actual delicacy that were served in Japan around this time. As the gang is sitting there talking, Pence gets a little bit existential, as teenagers who are growing up maybe tend to do. Maybe they don't. I don't know. I surely felt existential about it. He asks if they'll always be able to be together like this. And Hayner, being the hot-headed Debbie Downer of the group, says, obviously, they can't all be together like this, but they have to treasure the time they do have together. Following that up, Hayner notes that they haven't been to the beach all summer, and summer vacation is just about over. So in light of Pence's existential question about spending time together, Hayner just decides for the whole group that they're going to go to the beach today. But the only slight problem is none of them have any money to be able to afford a train to get to the beach. On the way to solve this problem, they pass by a big blue poster on the wall that literally just says the word struggle on it, that has a picture of an outline of one of the LARP bat swords that everybody is using to seemingly fight each other in this town. There appears to be some kind of tournament in a few days. And we get some exposition from Hayner saying that him and Roxas have to make the finals so that no matter who wins, they can split the prize. So we can expect in a couple of days there will be some kind of LARPing, foam bat battling tournament that these two are engaged in that will probably take place in the story somehow. So the problem remains, nobody has any money to take the train to the beach to be able to afford any food there or anything like that. So Hayner's, of course, like, hey, we're going to do some odd jobs around town to afford the money to go to the beach. And you probably already see where this is going. This is going to result in you playing mini games, baby. Let's go. And you can do a couple of different things. You can deliver mail. You can put up posters. You can get rid of bees. You can push a cart up a hill. You can hit a ball in the air to entertain people in the crowd. I think that's all of them. I think I probably cover all of them. But what is worse that these mini games offer you very, very little money. The only game that offers more than the 50 max that the rest of the games offer is the poster one. But the poster one takes a lot longer to do than all of these other ones. The mail delivery game is by far the easiest and can be completed in under 10 seconds each time. You'll have to do it at least double-digit times because you need 800 money, and you only get 50 max each completion, and you start with a very, very little bit of money that you got from fighting that initial white creature in the jumpsuit. I would just recommend doing the mail game. It's literally the easiest. None of these matter. All the rest ones are just a pain in the ass. Two of the people we have to deliver letters to are birds that are flying in the air. So the fastest way to do this is jump on the skateboard and just do tricks all the way down the ramp and hit the button prompt to deliver mail as you do that. And you can do this in about 8 to 10 seconds. But every time you have to get the money, go back to the job board, select the mail job, hit yes, confirm that you want to go into the mail job and do it, and then complete it within that 8 to 10 second window. So all in all, it takes about a minute every time. And to do this double digit times, I know 12 to 15 minutes does not seem like a long time, but it is so monotonous to just be getting 50 money every time and do these fucking jobs. I defend these games as much as I can, and I'm going to be defending this first part, but I hate doing these jobs. They're so stupid. Anyways, eventually you get the money, you get it all together, you meet your friends at the station. At the station, Alette gathers up all the money, and she holds out her money pouch that has a grand total of 5,000 money. That's great. That's enough for all of them to get to the station and have a little bit of money when they get to the beach to get some food or something. So Alette hands Roxas the money pouch. All the friends start to walk up to the station, Roxas lagging behind a little bit. As Roxas approaches the station, he trips and falls down, and he sees the stick that he threw earlier that hit the black-coated gentleman land on the ground next to him. He sees his friends turn to go back to him. But before they get to him, the man in the black coat is there suddenly in front of him, grabs him by the arm and pulls him up. He appears to say something that Roxas responds to, but we don't hear it right away because Hayner interrupts, telling Roxas they're going to miss the train, and the man is suddenly gone. So obviously nobody else saw this man in the black coat just basically accost Roxas. They go to pay for tickets, and Roxas has to give the ticket counter the money, obviously. Roxas discovers that the money pouch is gone, and in his disbelief, he says that the guy must have taken it when he fell. His friends are very confused. They say there was no guy there. They didn't see any guy at all. They just saw Roxas trip and get up, and we get a quick cutscene seeing from their point of view Roxas just fall over and stand up. So everybody walks away disappointed that Roxas basically fumbled the bag, as the kids say. And we cut to all four friends sitting on the edge of the clock tower, which rises up over the station, eating sea salt ice cream, which, if all their money just got stolen or lost, how are they able to afford sea salt ice cream? I'm not sure. Roxas apologizes for losing the money, saying he doesn't know what happened. All of his friends forgive him. There's no apology needed, but they do agree that the whole situation is weird. Roxas then repeats to himself what the hooded man appeared to say to him, and we cut to that cutscene where he picks him up and asks him,
"Can you feel Sora?"
At this, the TV static cuts back in, and we hear the robotic voice say,
Restoration at 28%.
Namine, hurry.
Back in the computer room, the man in the black coat, sure enough, has the money bag that he nicked from Roxas, and he's tossing it up and down in his hand. He asked
Is it really that hard to make a beach?
We'd be giving the enemy another entry point.
And this?
We can always buy some sea salt ice cream. A Objects from that town must be kept out of the real world. You can delete that.
Diz then instructs the man to delete that object because objects from that town have to be kept out of the real world. That town, real world, what is going on here? Everything that happens with Diz and this mysterious stranger hints that not everything is as it seems, and the things that Roxas are experiencing are a result of whatever their meddling in this world happens to be. But that'll have to wait answers for later, because immediately we get another cutscene. We get more of Sora's memories from the first Kingdom Hearts. The first of them being King Triton scolding Sora and Atlantica for meddling. The original trio getting dubbed Junior Heroes in Olympus by Phil. Aladdin wishing for Genie's freedom. Scenes in Halloween Town. Sora summoning Mushu. Scenes with Riku and Monstro while Kairi's image flashes in and out of frame. Sora excited to tell Kairi that he flew in Neverland, but her name always getting cut off before it is fully said. Scenes with Cloud, Winnie the Pooh characters, fuzzy images of his two friends, Riku and Kairi, with Kairi's being the fuzziest of all, deep, deep in the dark background. Back in the computer room, we pause briefly and we see Diz sitting at his computer once more, before we switch to a scene where we see a blonde girl, a familiar-looking blonde girl, standing in front of the stasis pod that we saw in Chain of Memories. The scene fades to black as the blonde girl turns to smile, and we hear Roxas ask her, "Who are you?" Roxas awakens in his room once again as text announcing that it is the third day comes across the screen. So once again, as he's done for the last 2 days, creatures of habit, he goes to the usual spot where he meets his friends. He sees a note from Hayner saying that they were all at the station and they were going to go to the beach today and to not worry about the money at all. But despite Hayner saying that, for whatever reason, he meets Pence and Olette on the street as he's approaching the station. But as they approach to greet him, they freeze as if time itself has stopped. Roxas goes to run up to them, but only to discover the blonde girl in the white dress blocking his path. She greets him by name.
Hello, Roxas.
Hi. And you are...
I wanted to meet you at least once.
me?
Yes, you.
After that, she just walks down the street, disappears, and the flow of time resumes normally, with his friends not even having noticed. They're going shopping for whatever reason, even though Hayner said they're going to the beach. Roxas is clearly too distracted, so they leave him to his own devices, and rather than meet his friend at the station, he ditches his friends and decides to follow the girl through town, which he catches up to and follows the girl outside of town via the gigantic hole in the wall where he followed the white creature to the mansion on day one. But as he's traversing the woods that are in between Twilight Town and the mansion, a portal opens up, and white creatures from day one emerge and try to grab him before Roxas retreats back towards the town, with the white creatures giving chase. He runs to the sandlot where he's stopped by Cypher's gang for interrogation, but as quickly as their attention focuses on Roxas, their attention quickly shifts when they see the white creatures approaching. So these white creatures aren't just a figment of Roxas's imagination. Cypher and his friends see them as well. They all grab struggle weapons to start to put up a fight. Obviously, the weapons have no effect, as we know, and in the middle of this confrontation, Roxas notices that time is stopped once again. The white creatures in the jumpsuits just circling Cypher and his gang, who are not moving at all. Roxas hears the girl, who we all know as Naminé, yell for him to use the Keyblade. And as a white creature lunges at him, he throws up his hands, and there's a flash, a blinding white flash of light. We don't find ourselves in Twilight Town anymore. We find ourselves now in the Black Void on a stained glass platform that we now know is synonymous with a dive to the heart. This is very similar to Kingdom Hearts 1. Here you make your usual choices. You pick a weapon, a sword, a shield, or a staff that affects your growth stats, that affects what abilities you learn, and affects the way you play the game. But rather than have the weapon during this dive to the heart, during this awakening section, you just get the Keyblade in your hand when you pick one of these weapons. And Roxas advances along the stained glass path in a similar way that Sora did in Kingdom Hearts 1. With the Keyblade, Roxas is able to fight off the tide of white creatures that begin to swarm him from all directions on the stained glass platforms. Finally, he arrives at the tallest stained glass platform, similar to the way Sora did, but instead of being confronted by a towering dark side Heartless in Kingdom Hearts 1, for Roxas' dive to the heart, he is confronted with a towering white creature called the Twilight Thorn. And this battle is similar to Sora's. It pretty much serves as a tutorial for the new reaction command option that they've built into the combat and how that can change the flow of battle. You need to utilize reaction commands to defeat the Twilight Thorn, which is exactly what Roxas does. He defeats this enemy, and similar to the way Sora was, he begins to be swallowed by darkness. But before he can drown in it, a hand reaches out to him to grab him. And in a flash of light, Roxas finds himself in an all-white room where the blonde girl finally introduces herself as Naminé.
My name is Naminé. Roxas, do you remember your true name?
The girl that we rescued in Chain of Memories. The girl that we know is currently reassembling the memories of Sora, Donald, and Goofy after the events of that game. We find her in the thick of the plot, no different than she was in Chain of Memories. She asks Roxas if he remembers his true name, but before he can answer that, the man in the black coat intervenes. He appears in the room out of a dark portal.
Say no more, Naminé.
But if no one tells him, Roxas will...
It's best he doesn't know the truth.
Hey, you're that pickpocket! Whoa!
Roxas accuses the man of being a pickpocket, but before Roxas can do anything about it, the man opens another dark portal and he shoves Roxas in. He wakes up in the Sandlot, surrounded by Cypher and his gang. With Cypher taking a victory picture, somehow they had managed to get rid of the creatures in white while Roxas was passed out on the ground. And sure enough, in typical comedic awful timing, this is where Hayner, Pence, and Olette find Roxas with Cypher's gang, and Hayner looks pissed. He told Roxas that he was going to take them all to the beach. He finds Roxas hanging out with their arch enemies. You know the rules of friendship growing up. You don't hang out with the rival gang of friends. That's not acceptable. Not at all. Roxas follows him back to the usual place where Pence asks him if he hung out with Cypher's gang today, because he basically ditched his friends for the beach. That's how all of them feel. He offers to make it up to them and says, hey, we can go to the beach tomorrow. But Hayner cheekily says that he promised to be somewhere tomorrow. And of course, this is referencing the struggle tournament. Hayner just leaves. He walks out. We get another TV static scene. Cut to TV static. And the robotic voice informs us,
Restoration at 48%.
We're in the computer room once again with Diz and the man in the black coat. They're discussing how Naminé was in Roxas's world.
Was that Naminé made of data?
No. Naminé hijacked the data herself. Look what she's done now. She's totally beyond my control.
Calm down.
It doesn't matter. As long as Naminé accomplishes her goal, we needn't worry about what befalls Roxas.
With Diz positing that Naminé must have hijacked the data, how Naminé is totally beyond his control, but it doesn't matter as long as she finishes her goal, and that it doesn't matter ultimately what happens to Roxas. So we get through vague exposition and series of events of characters interacting with each other that Naminé, the man in the black coat, and Diz are working together. And Diz says it doesn't matter as long as she finishes her goal, while we know that Naminé's goal is to rebuild the chain of memories inside Sora's heart so that he has all of his original memories back. So it appears, if you're using logic to kind of follow the threads of the story, that this group of individuals is working together to ensure that Sora's memories are restored and he is awoken. And somehow Roxas is playing into these series of events to make sure that this happens. If I could just insert very briefly here one of my own thoughts. People will say this is where the storytelling of Kingdom Hearts gets confusing, but if you're able to follow more complex plots, I appreciate this style of storytelling because it's not being rammed down your throat that all of these people are working together towards a common goal. If you've played the prior games and have a grasp on the story, you're just going to understand by what these characters are referencing that Disnominate and the man in the black coat are all aligned in the goal of bringing Sora to restoring Sora's memories and making him wake up as he was before the events of Chain of Memories. It doesn't beat you over the head with exposition, with Diz going on a 30-minute long speech about how he approached Nominate to help her achieve her goal of rebuilding Sora's memories, blah, 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 all this stuff. You get all of this information just knowing, based on what Diz is talking about, that this is what's happening. If you're not smart enough to put that together, like, I'm sorry, I can't help you there. But for as much as Kingdom Hearts beats you over the head and explains to you things, this part of the game does a good job of just kind of letting you figure out things by yourself. And yes, there's a lot of stuff we don't know right now. It's definitely very frustrating for the story to keep moving forward while having so many questions. But if you just bear with it here, all the threads are going to come together in the end. So just hang on for a little while longer. After this, we see more of Sora's memories, as is become tradition after each day. We see Hollow Bastion. We see Sora fight Riku. He releases Kairi's heart and turns into a Heartless. Some of the most important memories of the most important events of things that happened in Kingdom Hearts 1. So once again, Roxas awakens in his bed on the fourth day, as our text that rolls across the screen says, and today it is the day of the struggle tournament that was foreshadowed in the early, I think it was the second or third day. Whatever day they were going to the beach, that's when it was foretold. Roxas makes his way to the sandlot where the struggle tournament is taking place, and through exposition and announcer there, we find out there are 4 finalists that made it through the preliminary rounds. Roxas, Hayner, Cypher, and Vivi, because, of course, plot dictates that these characters would have the most conflict with one another, so of course they must all be a part of this. They draw to see who faces who, and whoever is left standing at the end is the winner, and they'll have a chance to face the grand champion Setzer of Final Fantasy VI fame. And of course, because they made a promise on day 2 to make it to the finals and split the prize, of course Roxas and Hayner get matched up first. But Roxas is still beating himself up for hurting Hayner's feelings after getting found with Cypher's gang. He's really apologetic. Hayner just tells him, hey, you have to let that stuff go. You know how boys are. You fight about it real quick, and then they resume being friends. So they pretty much resume being friends right away. That part of the conflict is easily resolved. Don't got to worry about it. And they proceed to have the struggle match with one another. And you actually play the struggle matches. The way it works is that you have your bat, and when you hit the opposing enemy, balls come out of them, and you collect their balls. And whoever has the most balls at the end of the match wins. There's 100 on each side, so you could potentially have 200. And yeah, that's the way that works. Of course, Roxas should win. You should win. I don't think I've ever lost this or see what would happen if I did lose it. I think you have to win, but I don't know. You should win. It's not that hard. Next up, Cypher fights Vivi, who Vivi does his best Yoda impersonation and starts literally flipping around all over the place like a little ninja. He knocks Cypher out in one hit. Before exiting, he tells Roxas that that's not Vivi, basically giving Roxas a warning, which is surprising coming from Vivi. He's normally pretty meek in Final Fantasy IX. He's very meek and timid until he kind of comes into his own and into his magical powers. So seeing him this physical is actually pretty funny. Obviously, Roxas fights Vivi. This is a much tougher fight, but you ultimately win. But when you do, that's when things start to go sideways. So Roxas triumphs over Vivi, but when you do, time freezes for everyone except you and Vivi, and the visage of Vivi transforms into one of the white creatures that have been chasing Roxas. And as if on cue, his struggle bat turns into a Keyblade, as Roxas asks himself, again? After clearing your adversaries, a man in a black coat is in the corner of the arena. Time is still frozen, and he's clapping for you. And we can tell that this is a different man in a black coat than the one we're familiar with. But we've heard his voice before. He sounds familiar. Having played the first 2 games, I think we know who he is.
Roxas. All right. Fight, fight, fight. You really don't remember. It's me. You know, Axel.
It is motherfucking Axel. That is right. He is back from Chain of Memories. He survived his encounter with Sora and with Marluxia, and here he is, motherfuckers. Let's go. Axel has returned. He asks Roxas. Roxas remembers him, and when Roxas goes to ask a question, he says,
This town is his creation, right? Which means we don't have time for a Q&A. You're coming with me, conscious or not. Then you'll hear the story.
And as if on cue, there appears to be strange ripples in the fabric of reality. And as all this is happening, Roxas throws his Keyblade.
What's going on?
Huh? Number 13, Roxas. The Keyblade's chosen one.
Okay, fine. You asked for it.
And you fight Axel. Oh, this fight is so cool. It was the first non-card combat with Axel, and it is the first fight with an organization member, and the 13th struggle playing in the background. Oh, this fight is great. And it really sets the tone early on about all of the boss fights in Kingdom Hearts 2 are pretty good. Normally there's a big differentiator between like Heartless and Nobody bosses and organization fights. Organization fights always feel like they have an added layer of complexity and stakes on top of them. And this absolutely feels that way. So you fight Axel, you deplete his health bar, but that doesn't mean you defeat him. You ended the combat encounter. When you finish that, Diz teleports in and Axel basically attacks him right away, but he throws his fire chakrams at him and it has no effect. They just bounce off him and disappear. Diz tells Roxas not to listen to Axel.
This man speaks nonsense.
This basically turns into a shouting match between Axel and Diz, shouting Roxas' name at him over and over, trying to get his attention, and he becomes overwhelmed.
Roxas! Don't let him deceive you!
Roxas!
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 Roxas! Roxas! Roxas! Roxas!
Hayner! Pence! Olette!
Eventually just covering his ears and yelling out for the name of his friends. And when he does this, time unfreezes. And he finds himself in the middle of the struggle arena, having just won the fight. Vivi gets up, he's confused how he got there, and he just walks off. But before Roxas can process any of this, nobody else seems to have noticed what happened. Before he can process any of this, he faces off against Setzer, who, at the start of this fight, basically tries to bribe Roxas to take a dive in the fight so he can remain champion. Big Hercule Satan vibes here, trying to basically letting on that he's not as good as he is, but just trying to not take any chances so he can remain the champion, whatever wealth or whatever he's accumulated from this stupid foam bat competition being champion. His pride is obviously on the line here. Roxas is like, nah. He defeats Setzer and he wins the championship belt and the struggle trophy. After this, the gang goes to the clock tower to sit on the ledge, as is their custom, and keeping true to his promise to split the prize between all of them, Roxas breaks off the 4 colored jewels that are on the struggle trophy and gives one to each of them. He takes the blue one, Olette takes the yellow one, Pence takes the green one, and Hayner takes the red one. Not that these are like too significant, but he's just kind of keeping his promise here. Roxas jumps to his feet as Olette pulls out ice cream, obviously seeing that they're in a high area on top of a fucking clock tower above the train station. He slips and he falls off of the clock tower. TV static comes back as Roxas is falling. And the next thing we know, we transition to a scene with a girl with longer reddish brunette auburn hair walking home from school. And when we hear her speak for the first time, we know that this is Kairi, a year older, walking home from school with Selphie. Selphie's talking to her. She wants to go out to the island, but Kairi said she made a promise not to go back to the island until she remembers. What is she trying to remember exactly? The boy she used to see there all the time with her and Riku. She forgot Sora. As she talks, she grabs her head as if she has a headache, and we see TV static back over to Roxas, who is falling. And Roxas subconsciously calls out to Naminé to ask what is happening. But it isn't Naminé who responds, but Kairi.
Naminé, what's happening to me?
Who are you? And that's not my name. I'm Kairi.
Kairi, I know you. You're that girl he likes.
Who? Please, a name.
I'm Roxas.
Okay, Roxas. But can you tell me his name?
Roxas goes, I know you. You're that girl he likes. Oh my God. And Kairi begs for a name with Roxas introducing himself. Kairi's like, fine, your name is Roxas. What is his name? And then we hear Sora's voice take over.
You don't remember my name? Thanks a lot, Kairi.
Huh?
Okay, I guess I can give you a hint. Starts with an S.
We go back to Kairi, who is passed out on the ground, but she gets up after her exchange with Roxas. Her and Selphie go to the ocean. She puts a bottle with a note in it in the water saying it's for the boy she can't remember.
What's that? A letter. I wrote it yesterday to the boy I can't remember. I said that no matter where he is, I'll find him. One day. And when I stopped writing, I remembered we made a promise. Something important. This letter is where it starts, I know it.
Wow. I hope he gets it.
He will. Starts with an S. Right? Sora?
And as she sets it off into the waves, she says to herself, starts with an S. Right, Sora? Oh my God! We get TV static, and the robotic voice tells us,
Restoration at 79%.
a huge jump up from our previous percentage of restoration. And Diz and the man in the black coat back in the computer room notice that this happens, and the man in black asks how this happened, what just happened. Diz postulates that
Naminé's encounter with Roxas put his heart in contact with Kairi's. And that in turn affected Sora. You see?
Naminé. She's a wonder.
She wasn't born like other nobodies. She can interfere with the hearts and memories of Sora and those aligned with him.
But whose nobody is she?
I could tell you. But first, perhaps you could tell me your true name.
Diz then goes on to explain that Naminé wasn't born like other nobodies, and that she has the ability to interfere with the hearts and memories of Sora and those around him. The man in black asks, whose nobody is she? And Diz offers to tell him only if the man in the black coat tells Diz his name. The man agrees, and he pulls back his hood and says his name is...
It's Ansem.
It's an honor, Ansem.
Ansem, Seeker of Darkness, revealing the tan complexion, the stark white hair, and the bright yellow eyes of the antagonist of Kingdom Hearts 1, Ansem, Seeker of Darkness. Diz laughs and tells Ansem it is an honor to meet him. Holy shit, guys! Listen, a lot just happened on this fourth day. We got so much information, and I'm trying my best to get all the plot threads together here. The story takes such an insane turn and really kicks up a notch at the start of Kingdom Hearts 2. And I'm just trying to hold it together because this part of the game gets me fucking hyped. After this, we then turn to a scene in a circular white room with thrones that we've seen before at varying heights. We see Axel fighting with another member of the organization who questions why he hesitated with his orders, saying that he so easily before eliminated traitorous members of the organization before hurling a spear which lands inches from Axel's face in the chair that he is sitting on. A man on the tallest throne, hood drawn, turns to Axel, lightning and energy dancing in his hands, but he does not speak. And Axel seems very shook by this, saying that he would be turned into a dusk if he doesn't do what he says, and he agrees to do it, whatever it is. This is a little bit of a side note. Anybody that played the side content from Kingdom Hearts 1 and fought the mysterious stranger in Hollow Bastion will notice this type of energy that this hooded organization figure is harnessing to attack Axel potentially, and notice that these two are the same people. That the secret boss from Kingdom Hearts 1 appears to be a high-ranking member of the organization, tying in the threads. But we can't stop there. We go to the 5th day, where Roxas is falling into darkness before jolting awake in his room, and we see the text for the 5th day. Roxas is talking to himself, asking if he's been dreaming, and if so, which parts of the dream. So many weird things happening to Roxas in the past 5 days. He's having a hard time distinguishing between what is reality and what is not. The gang meets at the usual spot. With summer winding down, they've been putting off their summer group assignment. Nobody seems to remember Roxas falling off the station tower. He even asks them as much, and they're like, no, you didn't, but you slipped and almost did, and you probably would have been dead if you fell off. So, again, weird things not matching up. His friends do not seeing the things that are happening to Roxas, and Roxas here beginning to question his own sanity. So they have this assignment to do, and what they decide to do their assignment on, it's very vague about what this assignment needs to be. They decide to investigate paranormal rumors around the town, which Pence calls the 7 wonders of Twilight Town. Ooh. The first of the wonders is a set of stairs that supposedly count different going down and going up. We take a train to a different part of Twilight Town that we've never been to called the Sunset Terrace. But when they reach the stairs, Pence said that he heard the rumor from Raijin, the stupid lumbering oaf of Cypher's gang. And he's like, they count different going up and down, yo. Which, of course, they do because he's stupid. So they write off that rumor as just Raijin literally being an idiot. And the rest of the rumors as well appear to be explainable coincidences. I don't really want to explain all these because they're not really pertinent, but Roxas's experiences vary much more differently than what his friends see. Roxas actually experiences some paranormal stuff, like one's called the doppelganger, and when he looks into a pond that shows his reflection, a shadow version of himself comes out and he fights it. There's one where he goes underground to find VV training, and the VVs multiply and he has to fight all of them. So, yeah, Roxas's experience is very differently from what his friends see, and it's interesting to see here and continue to see that Roxas's friends' experiences don't match his experiences. Then there is wonder number 6, the ghost train, a train that comes into town and leaves town with no conductor, no driver, no passenger. And they go to an overlooking the train tracks that come into town. And sure enough, Roxas does see a blue train with a wizard head on it roll into the station. So when he runs over to investigate it, he gets ready to jump on the train. His friends stop him, and he turns to face his friends. When he turns back to face the train tracks, the train is gone, implying once again, Roxas was the only person who saw it. The 7th wonder is the Haunted Mansion, a location that we've been to a couple of times during these 7 days. Learning this, Roxas goes there to check it out, and Pence follows him, saying that there's a mysterious girl that appears in the window on the 2nd floor sometimes, looking out of it. Roxas looks at the window and sees a blonde girl. And as he blinks, he finds himself in a white room with Naminé speaking to him. There are drawings all over the wall, and one is of Roxas with Axel. And Naminé tells Roxas that they used to be close.
Roxas.
Naminé? This is me? And Axel's here too.
You are best friends.
Very funny.
Don't you want to know the truth? About who you really are?
No one knows me better than me.
Of course.
But I don't get what's been happening lately.
You know these 3, don't you?
Yeah. Sora, Donald, and Goofy. They're from the dreams.
About a year ago, some things happened, and I had to take apart the memories chained together in Sora's heart. But now, I'm putting them all back exactly the way they were. It's taken me a long time, but pretty soon, Sora will be his old self again. The process has been affecting you too, Roxas.
You mean the dreams?
Yes. You and Sora are connected. And in order for Sora to become completely whole again, he needs you.
Me? What for?
You hold half of what he is. He needs you, Roxas.
Namine? Namine. Who are you?
I'm a witch, with power over Sora's memories and those around him.
A witch?
That's what Diz called me. But I don't know why I have this power. I just do. I'm not even sure there's a right way for me to use it.
I can't help you there. It's funny. Suddenly, I feel like I don't know myself at all. I guess I would like to know. What do you know about me that I don't?
You were never supposed to exist, Roxas.
What? How could you even say such a thing? Even if it were true.
I'm sorry. I guess some things really are better left unsaid.
Roxas then asks her the question that's been bugging him most. He asks her what she knows about him that he doesn't know. And she drops a major bombshell by telling him, "You were never supposed to exist." And after this, Roxas comes back to himself outside the mansion, Pence saying, "There's no girl in the window. They're just the curtains moving." And of course, Roxas speaks nothing of this encounter to his friends. They go back to the usual spot. Olette says the report's all done and that summer vacation is nearly over. The gang goes back up to their usual spot on the clock tower to have ice cream. We go back to Diz and the man in the coat who we know is Ansem. They're sitting in a ruined room with a table that's been destroyed. Diz is sitting in a room. And Ansem is asking Diz why he let Roxas see the train. And Diz says, as if he's being merciful, that it was because Roxas couldn't go to the beach. He then asks Ansem if his memory is starting to return, which he responds with, yes, the haze is clearing, and Diz explains that it's happening to everyone that had ties to Sora, and soon they'll remember him as a good friend who's been gone for a little bit. Ansem says he's been patient, and he asks Diz what he wants out of all of this. Why is he going to all these lengths to restore Sora's memories and interfere with the organization's plan? And Diz simply says, revenge, not elaborating on this any further. He says it's also time for Namine to be disposed of and that Roxas isn't the only one who wasn't meant to exist. And we transition to more TV static.
Restoration at 97%.
More memories of Sora at the end of the world, finding Castle Oblivion. And this is where the memories end. When he sees Castle Oblivion, the screen goes blank, like an old tube TV turning off. And here we get the scene from the beginning of the game again. A dark beach with a light in the distance, shrouded by fog. Water lapping the dark shores. Where the one hooded man says, "I've been to see him, he looks a lot like you," and the other hooded individual responds, in Roxas's voice, "Who are you?" Scene transitions to a dark city. Bigger, taller, stronger Shadow Heartless are seen coming out of the ground, surrounding a shorter individual in a black cloak. The person prepares himself and summons not one, but 2 Keyblades, summoning them from his sides one at a time as he begins to fight off the horde of Heartless. The scene transitions and he looks up towards the sky to an individual standing on top of a tall skyscraper that is behind him. The individual is taller. He has his hood down, sporting bluish white hair with a black blindfold over his eyes. The coated person with 2 Keyblades begins to run up the side of the building, straight out of the Matrix. He throws one of his Keyblades up towards the blindfolded person as the blindfolded person jumps down and grabs the Keyblade, heading down into battle. Another transition. The 2 black-coated individuals, one with the blue hair, one with the 2 Keyblades, are now fighting after they defeated all of the Shadow Heartless. The hooded one appears to overpower the blindfolded one, and the one in the blindfold asks, in the familiar voice of Riku,
Why? Why do you have the Keyblade?
Shut up!
Why do you have the Keyblade? And the other responds, in Roxas's voice, shut up, as he goes to swing down on Riku to finish him off. Whew, guys, we are getting some shit. Oh my god. Stuff is picking up. We arrive for one last time, the 6th day, as Roxas awakens in a daze. Everything is hazy. As he gets up out of bed, we see the apparition of Sora around his form. The large yellow shoes that cover his feet, the red shorts. And as Roxas looks out the window, we come to the 6th day as the text rolls in. Roxas walks over to see his friends at the usual place, who are standing in the middle, talking, and as he approaches them, he reaches out. His hand passes right through them. They run out of the usual place without giving him any notice, without looking back, without even acknowledging his existence. And as Roxas chases after them out into the alley, he finds his path is blocked by white creatures we now know as Dusks, the ones that Axel referenced in the circular throne room scene. And as if on cue, Axel appears behind him.
Look at what it's come to. I've been given these icky orders to destroy you if you refuse to come back with me.
We're best friends, right?
Sure, but I'm not getting turned into a Dusk for... Wait a sec. You remember now?
Yeah.
Great! But, you know, gotta make sure and all, so, what's our boss's name? Oh, can't believe this.
Roxas defeats all the Dusks before him, but before he can engage Axel, time freezes once again, Axel mid-swing, and the voice of Diz rings out, telling him to head to the mansion. After Roxas leaves, time unfreezes, and Axel very sadly consigns himself to the fate of fighting Roxas as almost melancholy, sad that he ultimately has to destroy him. Roxas flees to the mansion to find it locked, but using Sora's memories, he's able to remember that the Keyblade can unlock anything. So he does this and moves into the mansion, all the time being harried by Dusks. While exploring the mansion, Roxas finds the white room with Naminé's drawings, and he sees one of him. He's starting to have a splitting migraine as a loud, piercing screech comes through and memories come flooding back to him. Roxas is walking down the streets in a dark city, his hood down. And it is clear he's going somewhere. Axel's there, standing on the street, trying to stop him.
Your mind's made up?
Why did the Keyblade choose me? I have to know.
You can't turn on the organization!
Roxas comes back into the white room and sees Naminé asking if Organization 13 is a bad group.
Organization 13. They're a bad group.
Bad or good? I don't know. They're a group of incomplete people who wish to be whole. To that end, they're desperately searching for something.
What?
Kingdom Hearts. Funny?
It's just... I think I've been running away from the question I really want to ask. What's gonna happen to me now? Just tell me that. Nothing else really matters anymore.
You are...
Nominate!
There's no knowledge that has the power to change your fate.
Even if it doesn't, I want to know. I have the right to know.
A nobody doesn't have a right to know. Nor does it even have the right to be.
But what is a nobody?
Diz, we're out of time. Too many nobodies.
Roxas, nobodies like us are only half a person. You won't disappear. You'll be whole.
I'll disappear?
No further outbursts.
No, you won't disappear. You'll...
Wait!
Roxas, we will meet again. And then we can talk about everything. I may not know it's you, and you may not know it's me. But we will meet again. Someday soon. I promise.
Let her go! Nominate!
And that is the last time that Naminé has the opportunity to speak to Roxas on this day. Roxas continues to explore the mansion, and by solving a puzzle on a table reveals a hidden chamber beneath the floor, stairs that go down into a mechanical-looking sub-basement. And after heading down the stairs and through the door, he discovers the computer room that we've seen Diz and Ansem interacting in. He has another splitting migraine, and more memories rush back. And we go back to the circular white throne room with thrones of varying heights, showing 1, 3, 6, 10, 13 individuals. The last individual sitting on a lower throne with blonde hair. Roxas is one of these individuals. We then get a scene of Roxas being chased by Dusks through a city at night. The scene again where Roxas is standing over Riku as he asks why Roxas has the Keyblade. But before Roxas can strike the finishing blow, Riku counters and sends Roxas flying back, knocking him unconscious, rising to get him. It then shifts scenes to Roxas in the black coat, slumped unconscious on the ground in the computer room with Diz and Ansem.
Will it work?
If we can maintain the simulated town until Naminé finishes chaining together Sora's memories.
What will happen to Roxas?
He holds half of Sora's power within him. In the end, he'll have to give it back. Until then, he'll need another personality to throw off his pursuers.
Poor thing.
It's the fate of a nobody.
Roxas comes back to himself standing in front of this computer, and he is furious. He realizes that this whole time he was kidnapped by Riku against his will, kept in a fake town against his will, and basically has had no say in the machinations of Diz to reawaken Sora. He's basically been used, and everything that he's done over the past 6 days, from homework to hanging out with his friends to competing in the struggle tournament to working side jobs, has been fruitless. It's been wasted. There's no importance to anything that he's been doing. He rises to his feet, he summons the Keyblade, and he just smashes the computer to bits. After he has this fit, a door opens, beckoning him further into the underground, which, of course, he goes because there's nowhere else to go. And in the next room, Axel appears before him.
Simply amazing, Roxas.
Axel.
You really do remember me this time. I'm so flattered! But you're too late!
But this time it's different because Roxas actually has some of his memories back, and he actually does remember, but Axel is at his wit's end. He doesn't believe it. He says it's too late. It doesn't matter. Even if Roxas does remember now, the damage has already been done. He summons his fire chakrams, and a wall of fire erupts and surrounds the two. So there's no escape for Roxas. And at this point, we see Roxas do the move from the cutscene in the city, reaching to each of his sides, pulling out one keyblade, then two keyblades, and then you fight Axel for the last time. Oh, God. This fight is an absolute banger. If you don't know that this is the 6th day, this is the last day, this is what everything has been building up to, and holy shit, does this go out with a bang. Roxas with two keyblades. The room is on fire. It is the perfect crescendo point for everything that's been building up over these past 6 days. And it's also bittersweet that two good friends find themselves pitted against one another, not unlike Sora and Riku from Kingdom Hearts 1. Ultimately, you defeat Axel, and we get another brief scene in the city where, as Roxas is walking away, Axel tells him the organization will destroy him, to which Roxas responds, unfeeling that no one would miss him. And Axel painfully under his breath says, I would. We're back in the present, and Axel begins to fade away, and
Axel.
Let's meet again in the next life.
Yeah, I'll be waiting.
Silly. Just because you have a next life.
As Roxas continues further into the mansion, he stumbles across two stasis pods. He sees Donald, and he sees Goofy. Recognizing them from the memories, he walks into the next room and sees a large, white circular room with a large stasis pod in the center. And standing in front of it is Diz.
At last, the Keyblade's chosen one.
Who are you talking to? Me? Or Sora?
To half of Sora, of course. You reside in darkness. What I need is someone who can move about the realm of light and destroy Organization 13.
Why? Who are you?
I am a servant of the world. And if I'm a servant, then you should consider yourself a tool at best.
Was that supposed to be a joke? 'Cause I'm not laughing!
My apologies. This is only a data-based projection. Come, over here.
I hate you so much.
You should share some of that hatred with Sora. He's far too nice for his own good.
No! My heart belongs to me!
He attacks Diz one last time, and Diz vanishes. As he does, the large stasis pod opens up to reveal, at last, sleeping, clothes too small for him because he's grown in the past year, the spiky brown-haired, ever-cheerful protagonist, Sora.
Sora. You're lucky. Looks like my summer vacation is over.
Roxas's theme starts to play in the background, and in an absolutely devastating emotional cutscene, Roxas faces Sora and tells him, You're lucky. Looks like my summer vacation is over. In the most crushing way possible. And here we fade out. We finally get the Kingdom Hearts 2 title shot as Roxas' story comes to a close, and we fade to black. Ooh. Okay, that was intense. I realized that I've actually spent more time recounting the first 2 fucking hours of this game than I have any of the previous games in their entirety. And I went into so much detail here because I feel like this part of the game is really important. Okay, I affectionately named this part of the episode, What the Fuck is Actually Going On Here? Buckle up for this. We're about to recap everything that's happened. We know at the end of Chain of Memories, Sora, Donald, and Goofy all willingly enter stasis so that Naminé can restore their memories that she meddled with during the events of that game because of the machinations of Marluxia wanting Sora as his pawn, using Naminé to get what he wanted. But we obviously know that Sora overcomes all, basically kills Marluxia, and undoes the organization's plans. After the events of Chain of Memories, it was revealed in the secret reports for Kingdom Hearts 2 that Diz had persuaded Naminé to move Sora, Donald, and Goofy to a more secure location to reassemble their memories. So basically, after we meet Diz in Riku's story in Chain of Memories, for Diz had infiltrated Castle Oblivion during the events of Chain of Memories, and he allied himself with King, Mickey, Riku, and Naminé in order to restore Sora and use him in Diz's desire for revenge against the organization, which was revealed in the cutscenes we saw in Roxas' story. At the same time as the events of Chain of Memories, Roxas appears on the shores of the Realm of Darkness, which is the first scene, and a scene we see again later in Roxas' story, where the man sitting on the rock, who we now know as the leader of Organization 13, brings him into the fold. So Roxas was a member of Organization 13, where he spends about a year with them, and these events take place in the DS game that comes after Kingdom Hearts 2, 358 over 2 days. And we will get to those events after this story that will enhance a lot of what is happening here. After his about a year of time spent with Organization 13, where he forges a bond with Axel, he decides to leave for a not very clear reason, seeking answers as to why the Keyblade chose him. And these are all the scenes during that city section of Roxas' memories, where we see him walking away from Axel, being chased by Dusks, fighting these Heartless, meeting up with Riku. Riku was working with Diz, and he heads to the city to confront and capture Roxas, which he is able to do. That is the explanation behind the entire story that we just went through, how Roxas got to the Twilight Town. Roxas shares a connection with Sora, half of his power. He is half of the whole part of Sora, a nobody. More will be elaborated on this later, but just remember that this is what's going on. Diz and Ansem, who seem to have inexplicably joined the alliance with Diz, Mickey, and Riku and Naminé, put Roxas into a digitized version of Twilight Town, which was a town that Diz had discovered earlier in his travels that kind of lingers in between the realms of light and darkness. Again, we'll elaborate on that a little more once we talk about the secret reports. So they put Roxas into the digitized version. They give him false memories to keep him comfortable while Naminé restores Sora's memories until they need Roxas to do that. The organization obviously wants Roxas back as an individual that can wield the Keyblade because of his connection to Sora, that he is incredibly useful to their goals, which is why they were trying to bring Sora into the fold in Chain of Memories. Ansem and Diz attempt to hold off the invading Dusks and organization members while Naminé completes her work and keep Roxas in the dark. But as Naminé continues her work, Roxas, since he is connected to Sora, starts experiencing Sora's memories. And due to these repeated incursions and the strength of what Roxas is going through, Diz's Twilight Town starts to break down. It starts to malfunction after repeated incursions, which is why you see all these anomalies happening in Roxas's story. Time stopping, the Seven Wonders, Roxas hearing voices, all these things. It is a sign that Diz's matrix is essentially breaking down. Roxas is simply just existing in this digital world, forming friendships with people who don't exist. He's just trying to live his life, live the last 6 remaining days of his summer vacation before he goes back to school, for all that he knows. But in the end of all this, Roxas does regain his true memories, his time in the organization, his friendship with Axel, which was true. The two were close, but ultimately this does decide to return to Sora to see what his true purpose is. That was a lot. That's kind of the chronological point of everything that happened in Roxas's story. And this part of the game is crucial for setting up what comes for the rest of it. Because now that Sora is going to be awake and operating in the world, we don't talk about these events for a significant majority of the rest of Kingdom Hearts 2. But they will come back into play at the time of very important story beats towards the crescendo, basically, of the game towards the end. I know what you're thinking. Does any of this really matter? In the end, it seems like this portion of the game, other than story implications, doesn't really matter. All the things you do as Roxas during his 6 days of summer vacation, it doesn't matter. The struggle, the jobs, going to the beach, it's an exercise in futility. This time that you, the player, spent doing things with Roxas, gameplay-wise, none of it matters. Your money gets taken, the level ups you get don't matter because they don't really help you that much. Everything you spend doing with your friends doesn't matter because it wasn't real. It's an exercise in futility as Roxas continues to find strange things that happen to him, and the simulation seems to deteriorate at the same rate that his mental state does. The two are correlated to one another. Roxas, continually confused as to what's reality and what's not, lines up with Diz's simulation failing to contain everything that's happening. Honestly, playing this for the first few times, you actively feel frustration and a sense of futility as you play, because nothing you do in the game is actually affecting the events that are going to occur. Sora is going to awaken, and despite thinking that he has free will and is making decisions with his friends, Roxas has none, and he's just simply being manipulated and used towards the sole goal of reviving Sora. And at this point, spoiling a little bit of the game, you don't see Roxas for a long time. And because of this section of the game is crucial to making you care about a new character that you are not going to see for a long time, but is essential to the narrative going forward. You're meant to sympathize with him. You're meant to pity him. It is in this way, in this futile couple of hours of gameplay, in this frustrating few hours of gameplay, that Nomura ties your feelings and emotions to Roxas as a character. You might think this is stupid, but this is essential because at the end you do pity him. He's essentially just a kid trying to live what he thinks is his life, being manipulated by Diz and Ansem. And it almost provides a parallel that connects the player so intimately with Roxas. As Roxas's frustration level rises through the 6 days, so does the players. They're frustrated that they're spending these 2 hours in confusion, in tasks that don't seem to matter, away from the protagonist Sora, away from the events and the gameplay and the story of Kingdom Hearts that we've come to love. But it's because you experience these emotions the same alongside Roxas that ultimately end up endearing his character to you, with a lot of people's reactions being, I really pity him because he never really had a chance. From the moment he came into existence, he was manipulated, first by Organization 13, then by Diz, never really having a chance to explore what his existence was all about. And because of this, when certain events happen later in Kingdom Hearts 2, we'll tie back to these early moments, and you'll feel anger and be upset, but not at Roxas. Your feelings will actually be directed towards Sora, and your feelings will actually align with the way Roxas feels, and you'll see that his actions are justified. I can't defend this from a gameplay standpoint. It's not fun, and I've had multiple people that I've shared the experience of Kingdom Hearts 2 with tell me that this is the sole reason that they put this game down and they hate this game, because of this right here. And I understand it. But when you've worshipped at the altar of Nomura for as long as I have, you see the utter brilliance of the narrative and gameplay storytelling that this section gives off. And this section right here affects so much of the rest of the franchise going forward that it is absolutely mind-boggling. Mind-boggling. Nomura makes you, the player, feel the frustration and the futility of the things you are doing, because that is what Roxas is doing, and crafted the first section of this game in such a way that it is confusing and that it is a lot of information being thrown at you and a lot of unanswered questions, so that by the time you get to the end and Roxas reunites with Sora, you have unanswered questions, you have frustration, you have hopelessness, because that is what Roxas feels. And it is because of this that so many people from the fandom love Roxas as a character. I hope that through my extensive narration of the story, this is the first 2 hours of Kingdom Hearts 2. I wanted to offer a passionate and vehement defense of this section. And no, nobody outside of the Kingdom Hearts fandom, anybody that comes to these games later, isn't going to understand this right away. But in the context of the entire series, in the context of anchoring your feelings to a character that, guess what, you're not going to see for 90% of the rest of this game, and really your only other interactions are with a spin-off DS game about his time in the organization, Nomura doesn't have a lot of time to explain and justify you spending so much futile time with Roxas when all you want to do is get to Sora. And it is mind-boggling. So here we are. Sora is about to awaken. Roxas has reunited with him. All of the plot threads from the end of Chain of Memories have been brought forward in Kingdom Hearts 2, and that thread has been shredded and shaved and exploded into a million plot threads that are now shooting forward into the future. It's this point right here where things get crazy. So now we're going to see what Sora does now that he's awake, and how Organization 13 responds. What is Riku doing? Why is Ansem helping Sora? What is Diz's ultimate goal? Where is King Mickey? And what is the true nature of a nobody? This is what we will be focusing on going forward. This is why it was so important to do this section separately and have an in-depth analysis as much as possible, because this part can be confusing if you did not play Chain of Memories, which I didn't the first time. And even after playing Chain of Memories and coming into this and thinking about all of the unanswered questions you have after playing as Roxas, things haven't become any clearer. Things have become even more clouded. But we're going to continue our journey forward. And now that Sora is apparently made whole once again, we'll see how he responds and what his actions are. Remember, Naminé said that if she restored his memories to the way they were, he would have no memory about the events of Chain of Memories. So we're going to see how the gang squares that away with the events that are happening. And now that the chessboard seems set, what are Diz's next moves? But then I'll have to wait, because this part has gone on long enough. I hope this sets up Kingdom Hearts 2 very well. I could go on for so many more minutes about how important this is, but I think I've emphasized that enough. And with this section probably going to be pushing 3 hours alone, I don't think we need to do that. Thank you guys so much for enduring this marathon session of Kingdom Hearts 2. I hope you can hear the passion in my voice. This is my literal favorite game of all time. I'm so excited to finally be sharing it on Guiding Keys, be sharing it with everybody and doing an in-depth breakdown. And we're going to get a hold of these plot threads. We're going to get a hold of everything that is happening going forward. I very, very much promise you. But until we roll into part 2, this is going to be where we leave it for now. Thank you guys so much for listening. If you want to catch up on the show, if you want to nerd out about Kingdom Hearts, ask me what the hell is going on, yell at me for possibly defending any of this Nomura BS, you can go to linktr.ee/Unlockables podcast. All my socials are there. It'll be linked in the description of the episode. You can also go to patreon.com/Unlockables if you'd like to support the show a little more. You get some really, really great extras. You'll get some awesome monologues from me. I get awesome. Look at me go praising myself. You'll get some video game monologues from me on topics I don't normally get to talk about on the show. You'll get game reviews, short little game reviews for everything that I'm playing. Our brand new Patreon series called Gotta Catch 'Em All, where I'm rewatching the entire Pokemon series, 3 episodes at a time, and then breaking them down. All 1,000 episodes, all however many movies there are. It's going to be fantastic. But go check that stuff out. Thank you so much for everyone that supported. We're continuing our journey in Kingdom Hearts 2 on the next part. And I can't thank you enough. I am so excited to be sharing this game with everybody finally in my very, very detailed breakdown about what the hell is actually going on here. And remember, everybody out there, may your heart be your guiding key.